a biography that's probably the length, not a biography, but just a credentials that's probably the length of this book that I have in my hand. He said three masters. He's giving them away for those that need them.
I don't really need them.
He's renting them out if you might need one, whether it's a postdoc.
No,
selling.
Yeah.
He's out of the rental
It's got to
business.
be permanent, yeah.
It's got to be permanent, whether it's a master's degree, a postdoc, and was requested and produced a widely distributed edition of the Bhagavad Gita by HarperCollins.
That's right, yeah.
HarperCollins, which is available in bookstores across the world and used in universities worldwide as an illuminating exposition on the Bhagavad Gita. In addition to all of the scholastic acumen, is a devotee with the depth of heart, and his presentation today, Yoga as a Pilgrimage of the Heart, will not only be one that is shastrically enriching and academically stimulating, but also devotionally enriching, and with his depth of devotion, scholarship, and also humor and relatability, it's a real treat to have him here. So he'll be leading us in kirtan initially. The kirtan, normally we go from 11 to 11:30, but we're going to cut the kirtan part a little bit short, just so that we can have more time hearing from and opening discussion with Garuda Prabhu. And so please join me with a round of applause and welcoming Garuda Prabhu here.
Is this generally the size of the audience, or it collects?
It collects.
Yeah, quickly.
Because usually at 11 o'clock the kirtan and people just kind of start to come in. Yeah.
I see. Okay, good. Well, I hope when they hear my kirtan, they won't comment and decide to leave, because I'm not technically a kirtaniya of any kind. So. Bhagavata It's always refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Well, welcome everyone. I'm happy to be here. Happy to see old friends and new friends. Also, Champakkalata, she's in Finland somewhere. I think that's somewhere in South America, isn't it? Okay, in any case, she said she couldn't be here, but I want to thank her for arranging for today, and also Prabhuji, and it's an honor to be here. And Krishna Kanta, my wife, is sitting back there, and she's also very happy to be here. And welcome, come sit anywhere. Okay. So, the promised title for today's talk is Yoga as a Pilgrimage of the Heart. We will be reading from the Bhagavata Sravana, as this is, I believe, what you do here on Sundays. Okay, so I will comply. I'm generally fairly cooperative. Not always, but, you know, around you I'm going to be cooperative. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, now, what is this? It's a ticket to the Rubin Museum. Why would I put this? I told you I'm fairly cooperative, right? We're going to get to the Bhagavatam. But I want to tell you that Krishna Kanta and myself went to the Rubin Museum, which has 5 floors, extremely well-appointed modern interior, filled with Tibetan Buddhist art, practices, gongs, emotion analysis machines, extremely elaborate. You know why we're not in there? Because in the 1960s, right here in New York, Prabhupada came, but also what came was $5 million for establishing a chair, a professorship of Buddhist studies at Columbia University. That was held, and maybe, I think still held, by Robert Thurman, who was also known as Buddha Bob. Yeah. That's his nickname, Buddha Bob. Since that $5 million for Buddhist studies in universities, over $250 million have been donated to universities for Buddhist studies. To this day, hardly $5 million for anything like Hindu studies. We love building temples. I think it's sort of it's part of the generational trauma, you know, of being a country that was invaded and temples being torn down, having to rebuild temples. I think we keep trying to rebuild the temples out of fear that they're going to be torn down again or something like that. But really, the Buddhists have it right. And now the Jains are doing it. Over the past 10 years, the Jains have donated $70 million and rising. They're donating tons of money. Are they building temples? Not so much. They're building temples of not of brick and mortar, but of knowledge and education. We're way behind. We're way behind. We are doing some really good things, though. We do a lot of good educational things. But I was going through there, and one thing that Krishna Kanta, and I noticed, and you can correct me if I'm mischaracterizing you, there was nothing about the heart. It was all about the mind and sense perceptions and the sort of the ultimate vacuity of existence, but nothing about the heart, about love. Very strange. It was very elaborate and beautiful and impressive, but left me empty in that regard. And this is what we could contribute. So I'm going to try to, so this, in one sense, inspired me more for today's talk than I had anticipated, because the talk was determined by Champaka Lata and myself a few weeks ago. Okay, this was today's summary of what I was going to talk about. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be talking about it, so we'll skip that. I'm going to speak a little bit about my upcoming publication with Oxford University Press. It's newly titled, but it's an incarnation of the first book I published with Princeton University Press in 2005, called Dance of Divine Love. And this also, I credit my dear wife for coming up with the subtitle that's absolutely beautiful, When Divinity Calls Our Souls to Dance. I mean, this is the essence of our tradition. Would you agree, Sripala?
Yeah,
It's the essence of our tradition. When divinity calls our souls to dance. Okay? And I'm going to talk more about that today. This will be coming out in about a year. So I'll be back with a pile of books and see if any of you want them. And if you don't, just kick me out. It's not a problem. Before we get into speaking about the Rasa Panchadhyayi, I want to point out to you, and this is from the original book published by Princeton, these two lotus flowers illustrate the incredibly rich Shastric tradition that we have. Incredibly rich. But the idea here is that the lower flower, or the blossom, you could say, the lower blossom is the exoteric literature. That meaning accessible to all, addressing all, really, open to all on the one hand. And the upper blossom is the esoteric literature, meant for a select few, meant for those who are qualified. Now, let's look at the bottom one quickly. You see the Upanishads, Vedas, Darshanas, and so on. And then on the inner, sort of concentrically more inner row of petals, you see Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, the 18 Puranas, and so on. And then the pod in the middle is the Bhagavata Purana. And then, you have books 1 through 9 and 11 through 12. And then you go further internally to the inner rung, and that is the Dashama Skanda, the 10th book. And then you get right into the penultimate rung of this pod, and that is the Vraja Leelas of the Dashama Skanda, and then finally, the 5 chapters of the Rasa Panchadhyayi is the very middle. Chapters 29 through 33. It functions as the ultimate exoteric text, the pinnacle, the Sarva Lila Chudamani, Vishwanatha Chakravarti says, the crown jewel of all Leelas. The Leela Sara, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswamin says, the essence of all Leelas. It's, on the one hand, the very pinnacle of the exoteric Leelas. On the other hand, it's also a doorway into the esoteric Leelas. Okay? Now, and so here, look at that. I could have been easier on your eyes now, wouldn't it? Okay? Yeah, you're all straining, I could see. Should have brought my binoculars. Okay, so here I say it very clearly. You can see how it all leads to the Ras Lila itself, Rasa Panchadhyayi. And then, of course, the esoteric literatures really work with, and of course you see the sort of imitation of the Ras Mandala around these more esoteric literatures, which speak more about Radha Krishna Leela and Darshana, and really Radha herself is rather esoteric, as she's not mentioned deliberately, with her nomenclature in the Bhagavatam, and so her presence is very precious and confidential. Okay, so this is the esoteric literature. Okay, before I give you 11 different statements that Prabhupada says about the Ras Leela, I want to confess to all of you that I did write about the Ras Leela for my doctoral dissertation at Harvard. Was that ever, bless you, my daughter, yes. Was that ever my intention? Never. This was back in the early 90s. There were devotees going around in places like this saying, read Krishna book, read the Bhagavatam and so on, but do not read the Ras Leela. That's what was going on in the 1990s, early 1990s. So there I was planning to do a comparative dissertation between Catholic mysticism and Bhakti mysticism. All my peers at Harvard knew that's what Graham Schweig was going to do, right? They knew that's what the focus was. Atman was there back in the Boston days, the old Boston days, and while he was vigorously going out and distributing Prabhupada's books, I was trying to write one for the academic realm. Doesn't sound very glorious, but compared to what Atman was doing back then. But the idea is this. I was comparing, and my doctoral dissertation advisor said, look, I fear that there's not enough academic treatment of the Vaishnava side. There's plenty on the Christian side, tons on the Christian side, but I'm not sure this is balanced. And I said, well, what should I do? And so he said, well, and then he laid a question on me that was just a thunderbolt. He said, tell me what the ultimate vision of Chaitanya Vaishnavism is. So I'm going through my head. I'm doing rapid, light speed, through the Bhagavatam, through the Chaitanya Charitamrita, back to the Gita, Nectar. I'm going through this. He said, take your time. And I'm thinking, yeah, I need some time for this response. And it all added up, and I said, Professor Carmen, it would have to be the Ras Leela. Because this is what Mahaprabhu, Garuda, it's the only thing that would ultimately appease him if he heard the Rasa Panchadhyayi. Of course, there are the other favorite texts that he would listen to, Chandidas, Vidyapati, Ramasamhita, and the Ramananda Roy's Jagannath, what is it? Yes, and then Gita Govinda. Don't forget Gita Govinda. But all of those things are really based on the Rasa Panchadhyayi. So I told him the Rasa Panchadhyayi would be the highest vision. He said, okay, so is there any academic treatment of that? I said, oh, I'm sure. I mean, scholars know it, they know of it, they talk about it, the academic. He said, well, show me. I scoured all 12 Harvard libraries, largest library system in the world of a university, and nothing. I came back empty-handed, and he said, that is your dissertation. I said, oh, Professor Carmen, I think we can work out another topic. I think we can think of another topic, He said, no, I don't think we can. I said, well, Professor Carmen, my degree program and the doctorate, the diploma is going to say comparative religion. How is this comparative religion? He said it's comparative by virtue of the fact that you are preparing it for comparison, for dialogue. I said, okay, that's fine. But maybe we could also consider, So, and he said, that will be your dissertation. Now, you don't mess around. Your doctoral advisor holds your life in your hand. You know that Sri Prahlad. If you don't do what he or she says, 13 years of graduate education goes down the drain. Yeah, we've already gone through that. I'm an overeducated idiot, 3 master's degrees and so on. Those of you who were not here earlier, I am selling one or two of them, if any of you are interested. The point is this, I couldn't get out of it. And I'm thinking, I'm walking home, right? And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Wait till I tell my God brothers and God sisters, guess what I'm writing about? The Ras Leela. You know, the thing that Prabhupada is so very cautious about and is so concerned that people will misunderstand it. What does Prabhupada say, though? Look at this. But that is the ultimate goal, to understand Krishna's Ras Leela. Wow. By gradual development of transcendental knowledge, one can rise to the stage of transcendental arts, of music and dance, displayed by the Lord in his Rasa Leela. So similarly, instead of trying to satisfy our senses independently, if we join with Krishna in his Rasa dance, yeah, are you ready for this, Sri Prabhupada? Okay, as cowherd boys, gopis, we join with Krishna. I mean, you can feel how joyous Prabhupada's words are here. It's joyous. This is where Prabhupada was. This is what he was absorbed in. And the rest, you know, he could be quick and even dismissive and sort of even callous toward worldly topics. This is where he was. And you could feel it in his words. Then you get the same pleasure as Krishna. I'm just quoting here, folks. Okay? Quoting more. So this is the greatest benediction to human society, to train them to go back to Krishna and dance there with Krishna in Ras Leela. Are you ready for this, Abhinaveda?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. Okay, here we go. We have an enthusiastic candidate here. Okay. In the Rasa dance, Krishna performed the Rasa dance. Not exactly the ball dance. Prabhupada was funny with language sometimes. But it is an imitation of that Rasa dance. So next time you go ballroom dancing, honestly, I really don't know how to ballroom dance, but if I ever am forced to, then I will remember. This is not exactly the Ras Leela dancing. Just join with Krishna, his Rasa dance, his play with cowherd boys, his dealing with his father and mother in Vrindavan. So this movement is to join Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, the intelligence is that we should again go back to home, go back to Krishna, and dance with him in his Rasa dance. Are you hearing this, Sri Prahlad? You hear this? Okay, good. Okay, get ready. Participation with the Lord in his eternal Ras Leela is the highest living condition, perfect in spiritual bliss and eternal knowledge. The intelligence is that we should again go back to home. I think I already quoted that one earlier. Sorry about that. That is called Rasa dance. You have heard about Krishna's Rasa dance. That is happiness. Oh, there's one more. That dance is called the Ras Leela dance, and it is the most elevated of all Vrindavan pastimes. So it behooves us to know something about this and not shy away from it, but also to be careful. And there's a way to do that with Prabhupada's mood. So we're just going to look at the very first verse of the Rasa Panchadhyayi. It's in the normal shloka, anushtup, 8-syllable quarter verse Puranic structure that you're used to. And there it is. So we can all chant that, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Okay, we'll avoid the Devanagari. Okay, let's go to the transliteration. And there, you've got it all. So repeat after me. Shri Badarayana Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavata Sravana.
Bhagavan Api
Bhagavan
Taratri
Taratri
Sharadotpula,
Sharadotpula,
Malikaha,
Malikaha,
Viksharantum,
Viksharantum,
Manaschakre,
Manaschakre,
Yogamayam,
Yogamayam,
Upashritaha.
Upashitaha,
Bhagavan Abhitaratri,
Bhagavan Abhitaratri,
Sharadotpula Malika,
Sharadotpula Malika,
Viksharantum Manaschakre,
Viksharantum Manaschakre,
Yogamayam Upashritaha.
Yogamayam Upashitaha.
So here are the word for word. Sri Bhattarayanir means son of Vyasa. Uvacha spoke. Bhagavan, the beloved Lord. Api, even. By the way, this word api, which means even, I've written about 10 pages on that word in the original book. I know that sounds crazy, but you'll see why in a minute. And then ta means those. Ratri, night. Sharada, in autumn. Utpulla, blooming. Malikaha, jasmine flowers. Viksha, seeing. Rantum, toward love's delights. Manas, the beloved Lord. Actually means mind. Okay, sorry. Mind. Okay, the beloved Lord's mind. Okay, how about that? Turned, chakre, turned. Yoga, meaning union. Mayam, elusive powers. Okay, upashritaha, fully taking refuge in. And here is the translation, which, by the way, I went through about 49 different versions before I settled on the final one. The illustrious son of Vyasa spoke. Even the beloved Lord, seeing those nights in autumn filled with blooming jasmine flowers, turned his mind toward love's delights, fully taking refuge in Yogamaya's elusive powers. Okay? Now, this verse, if you can trust me on this, there is no place in all of the Bhagavatam where Krishna takes full refuge in anything. But he does so here with Yogamaya. This immediately separates this verse and the following 5 chapters from all other texts. This is like a flag. You're about to enter into a very special lila here. The following 3 verses are some of the most beautiful verses. They're much longer, Shakwari, I think, meter. Then the moon, king among the stars, arose, spreading soothing reddish rays over the face of the eastern horizon, dispelling the sorrow from those who looked on, as a lover caresses his beloved's blushed face, consoling her after long separation. Seeing lotus flowers bloom in the perfect circle of the moon, beaming like the face of Rama, reddish as fresh kumkum. Seeing the forest colored by the moon's gentle rays, he began to make sweet music, melting the hearts of fair maidens with beautiful eyes. And finally, upon hearing that sweet music, their passion for him swelling, the young women of Vraja, whose minds were captured by Krishna, unaware of one another, ran off to the place where their beloved was waiting, with their earrings swinging wildly. Javalo Lokundala. You can almost hear the rhythm. Javalo Lokundala. So the earrings are swinging wildly. My Sanskrit professor, probably the most famous scholar of Indic literature in the 20th century, wrote, not just said this, but wrote in a foreword to another student's book that the Bhagavata Purana's 10th book, and especially this Panchadhyayi, is the most enchanting, he used the word, most enchanting poem ever written. Now, scholars don't speak in superlatives. We usually say, one of the most beautiful poems ever written. He had enough guts in it, he could get away with it. He said it is the most enchanting poem ever written. Now, he was not a bhakta, believe me. He was not a bhakta, okay? But he was certainly an extremely knowledgeable person. He read poetry in at least 12 different languages, both Indic and vernacular and Middle Eastern languages. And he enjoyed English poetry as well. So he was a poeticist. The purpose of the divine drama is found right here in this seed verse that we recited. Divinity passionately loves souls, giving himself completely over to the power of love. Yogamaya. He completely gives himself over to the power of love. You see, dear friends, we are a tradition that ultimately, yes, we ultimately worship Krishna, but not just Krishna. We ultimately worship Radha and Krishna, but not just Radha and Krishna. We ultimately worship the love that is exchanged between them, Mahaprabhu, Gauranga. And ultimately, it's that love that subsumes, frankly, all of them. We are a tradition that worships love. Plain and simple. The power of love. I was missing that at the Rubens. I was really missing that at the Rubens. Oops. Oh yeah, there we go, we did that. 4 principles of the sacred drama are in the first verse. 1, the beloved Lord is clearly there. 2, the paradisal scenery is certainly displayed there and expressed beautifully. 3, the uniting power of love as Yogamaya. And 4, where are the coward maidens? This is the seed verse. Ladies and gentlemen, the seed verse has to have the Vrajagopikas. In fact, their voice is more prominent in the 5 chapters than Krishna's voice. It's the only place in the whole of the Bhagavata where the feminine voice is dominant. But this first verse is not announcing. This drove me crazy for weeks and weeks and weeks. Where are the gopis? Anyone find the gopis in this verse? I was looking for weeks, months maybe, I think. No, you won't be able to find them. But they're there.
If we've read your book, we know.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, if you've read my book, you can't say it because you're cheating. Yeah, you're cheating. But the gopis are there. Okay, we don't have time to go through all of this. So the gopis are there in a circuitous, complex metaphor, conveying the heroines. The autumn nights, Ratri, actually refer to the Vedic goddesses. The Vedic goddesses of the night, whose dark hair is decorated with jasmine. And that becomes another metaphor for the coward maidens, whose behavior is just like jasmine. This is night-blooming jasmine in the autumn. Ladies and gentlemen, jasmine doesn't bloom in the autumn. Do you understand? And then what to speak of at night? Now, I've heard that there's some night-blooming jasmine, but generally speaking, this night-blooming jasmine in the fall is not supposed to be happening. And neither are the gopis supposed to be blooming from their homes into the night either. So that's part of the metaphor. The coward maidens, whose behavior is like that of jasmine. And that's how we come back to the autumn nights. They're there in the term Taratri, the Vedic goddesses of the night. So the gopis are there by virtue of deep, circuitous, complex metaphor. And the only way I figured this out is I was translating the verse for the 45th time in my dreams one night. And I suddenly realized what I had to do. And this is, when I'm out at night, I am out. I mean, there's nothing that can wake me. I mean, a nuclear holocaust couldn't wake me. I mean, I'm telling you. But I got up at 2 in the morning, ran to my study, ran to a book which I hardly ever read, and it talked about the Vedic goddesses of the night. I said, oh my there they are. Okay. Well, I just happened to sneak into Braj and see Krishna in the middle of that beautiful autumnal evening where Krishna is surrounded by all the jasmine and he is entranced. And thus this verse. So, there are 4 principal elements. Now, the yoga of the Bhagavata. Well, first I should point out that pilgrimage, that bhakti really is a pilgrimage to the heart. It's a pilgrimage on which we are all treading, present. It's a pilgrimage to the heart. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying to Arjuna as a solution to his irreconcilable ethical conflict, be a yogi. So what does that mean? That means to delve into a pilgrimage into the heart. So the word Bhagavata means one who embraces all beings. The one who embraces from without as Brahman, the one who embraces from within as Antaryaman, or the Paramatman, and the one who embraces us from all around, the Vishwarupa or Virata Rupa. And what I want to do is to show you that there are 2 gazes on the part of divinity. One is an inward gaze, where Krishna is full, complete, everything is there. He needs nothing else. He is with his beloved Radha, who is this? He with her is the source of all love, all beauty, all song, all dance. What else do you need? So this is the inward gaze of divinity. The Ras Leela, the Ras Mandala, the ultimate scene in the ultimate Leela within the Bhagavata. By the way, I commissioned this painting from Kim Waters, and it took her 10 months to complete. Krishna Kanta and I guided her compositionally, what we needed in the painting, the components, and what we don't need in it. In other Ras Mandala paintings, you find, deer kind of coming in and gopis playing drums, and no, there's none of that there. This is exactly what the text states, except for one thing. Radha at the center. She's not mentioned there, but the Chaitanya school knows that she's there. So I had to put her there. So that's the only place where I violate the actual content of the text in guiding the composition. But remember, the Ras Leela is the very pinnacle of all exoteric literature, and through it you get to the esoteric literature, and that's how I know Radha's there. So just dipping into the esoteric, she's there. And it's the inward gaze. Look how they're inward, all the couples are inwardly gazing. Nothing else is needed. Everything is complete, divinely complete. But then there's the outward gaze of divinity. Thank goodness for the outward gaze. Krishna, with his beloved Radha, calls all souls to their hearts with the sounds of the flute. You can look here as well, please. Normally, when Krishna is with his Radha, there is no need for a flute. That's the purpose of the flute, to call his beloved Radha. But he's not looking at Radha. There's not the inward gaze. There's an outward gaze. He is calling you and me. That is what he's doing. And we look at this every day. For hours we meditate on it, contemplate it. It's the outward gaze of divinity. It is the love call of divinity for our hearts to come to his, or theirs, I should say. This is a beautiful miniature that we have in our home. So the yoga of the Bhagavata is one who embraces all beings. Yet divinity yearns for our hearts, thus the inward and outward gazes of divinity. The yoga of the Bhakta is demonstrated by the Vrajagopikas. The gopis went within in place of going without, returning the divine embrace. Bhakti is about returning the embrace of divinity. And the gopis that could not manage to leave their homes, they decided to go into yoga meditation to embrace Krishna from within their hearts. In Krishna's absence, some Vrajagopikas went within to achieve his personal presence, embracing the divine within instead of going without. And here are the verses. Some gopis, unable to leave, had gone inside their homes. With eyes closed, fully absorbed in love, they meditated upon Krishna. The intense burning of unbearable separation from their dearest beloved disrupted all inauspiciousness. Due to the joy of embracing Achyuta, attained through meditation, even their worldly happiness was lost. So even what was happy in this world, like just gets lost because it's incomparable to what one experiences when embracing Krishna. Even in Krishna's presence, some Vrajagopikas went within, gazing at Krishna from within, in place of an outward gaze. Haven't you ever experienced that? Sometimes you're sitting here, you're chanting, but you close your eyes. Somehow that can bring you even closer to what's right in front of you, in order to embrace Krishna exclusively without anyone else. Here's the verse. One of them took him into her heart through the aperture of her eyes. Then, closing her eyes, she embraced him within. She became elated with bodily ripplings of joy as the body of a yogi is overcome with bliss. All of them, as their tranquility fully blossomed by fixing their gaze upon Keshava. See, the rest of them were gazing, but there was one gopi who shut her eyes and went within. Put aside their sorrow born of separation as persons who are blessed with the presence of a wise sage. Okay. So the Gita's gaze is outward. Krishna's gaze is outward the whole time in the Gita. How many times does Krishna say, please remember me? Many times. Be absorbed in the yoga of yogas. I happen to know that specifically 5 times. You are dearly loved by me, at least 12 times. Please offer your heart to me 12 times. And finally, come to me. I counted that 22 times. If someone text messages you and says, come to my home, that's a very nice invitation. 2nd time, come to me, would you? Please. 3rd time, I need you to come to me. 4th time, do I need to keep going here? Come on. In fact, if it comes from just an ordinary soul, this gets to be like, oh my God, just go away, Garuda. But when it comes from divinity, we're closing up shop here. Okay, there it goes, look at that. This is quite magical. Okay, there we go. This is a very unusual setup, I have to say. Very unusual setup. So Krishna's gaze is outward in the Gita. Now in the Yoga Sutra, which I'm presently working on as well, actually this is unfinished, the first book, The Yoga of Love, is completed. It's Oxford that's dragging their feet. And they happen to be right in the city, Oxford University Press of New York. Okay, so if you want to join me in picketing in front of the Oxford building, let me know. No, I don't mean that. They'll cancel the contract. Okay, so my Yoga Sutra, no one has ever really examined carefully and commented on the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali through the lens of bhakti, the bhakti vilochana. The Prabhupada actually loves Patanjali. He doesn't like his followers. He denounces their impersonalistic Advaitin type of commentaries and the way it is typically utilized this way. But Patanjali Mahamuni, Patanjali is extraordinary. And honestly, I didn't expect to come across so much beauty in terms of bhakti. And I'm going to give you a little bit of that today. Patanjali launches his work with 4 spare words, albeit richly endowed terms. Each word which will appear in key places throughout the sutra. Thus the words yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha of this key aphorism ideally are translated and rendered in such a way as to anticipate the essential content of the whole sutra. So again, here's another bija, not verse, aphorism, just as we examined the bija verse of the Bhagavata. This is the bija aphorism, sutra text of the Yoga Sutra. Well, this is just the introductory one. Now begins at this auspicious point this work on perfect union and its systematic teaching. There's a lot I could say about this, but I'm not going to, in the interest of time. But this one, no one has ever translated it this way in 2 different ways. One is that there's a double entendre that I bring out, and 2, no one has ever translated chitta as heart or whole heart, as I've done here. Perfect, okay, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Perfect union, yoga, is a transformation of the whole heart, chitta, as conditioned turnings, vritti, become uprooted, nirodha. So its pure turnings, vritti, can take root and flower, nirodha. Double translation, double entendre. Now, most people translate chitta as mind, and all of the Advaitin texts and even Buddhist texts that comment on the Yoga Sutra and why Buddhists would translate the Yoga Sutra, I don't know, because the word Atman is in there, so I don't know how they deal with that, but I'm not interested. Anyway, the point is that the word chitta is found in the Bhagavata Purana 80 times, about 80 times. 40 of those times, there's no other way to translate it other than heart. So half the time, it's translated as heart. And even in that famous verse, Machitta Magata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam, in the Gita, the Chatur Shloki, even that verse, I did translate it as mind in my translation, but it could be, offer your hearts to me. Machitta, Madgata Prana, offer your very life essence to me. Abodhayanta Parasparam. Then you will cause one another to be enlightened. Again, so chitta, the whole heart. So I've been working on the whole heart. Look, think about it in the Gita. What's the essence of a person, right? Just anyone? The essence.
The heart?
What in the Gita? The Atman, right?
Yeah,
Atman.
the Atman.
Okay. What comes next in terms of the conditioned existence, what comes next?
I think the heart.
No?
The ego?
Yeah, the Gita. What comes next?
The ego.
Okay, ahankara,
Yeah.
right?
Ahankara.
Or Prabhupada says false ego.
Right.
Okay, what comes after that?
Intelligence.
The buddhi, The buddhi,
Buddhi.
right? Which I translate in my translation as the faculty of discernment or intelligence. That's fine. What comes after that? Manas, the mind. And what comes after that? Yeah, the Shatindriyani, right? The 6 senses.
6 senses.
5 senses. I'm sorry. But right, Indriyani. And then then finally,
The body.
yeah, Sharira,
Body.
right? Or Deha. Okay. Where's the heart in that?
But the heart is the most important.
Well, okay. Do you remember Krishna, Arjuna says to Krishna, the mind is more difficult to control than controlling the wind. Do you remember how Krishna ultimately responds about controlling the mind?
The knowledge.
You can stop the mind within the heart. How about that? Stop the mind within the heart. Very powerful.
Because we in the West think of the mind as the head, right? And then the East, they think of it as the heart.
Right, right. But mind really is not mind and brain. This is a very Western idea. Mind is throughout the body. They're even discovering that. And of course, in the yoga tantra, there's the 7 chakras, which we're going to look at here. By the way, we're going to look at that. So what we've got here is vritti nirodha translated twice, once negatively, once positively. First, there's a clearing, there's a purification process. And we're going to come back to the heart. Don't worry, we're going to come back to that.
That's my favorite part, so I want to know.
Okay, good. You like that part. Okay, good. Well, there's plenty of heart coming up here. That's all I'm doing in my sabbatical research for the past year. So you'll see some of this. Okay. So as conditioned turnings, vritti become uprooted. So this is, honestly, I am not a gardener, but my wife's a really good gardener, okay? A couple of years ago, we had okra coming out of the soil. I don't know how she did it, but I did watch her till the soil, turn the soil, right? Get the rocks and the roots out, right? So yoga the process is very much like turning the soil of our consciousness, relieving it from all the samskaras and the conditionings. And then, so it's pure turnings. So when you plant a bulb, it takes root and it flowers. Right? Vritti nirodha. So I translate these words very much morphologically, rather than the mere lexical definitions. Okay. Later on, there are 3 kinds of nirodha that I justify the double entendre with. And I can't get into that now. But suffice to say, there's a nirodha, a kind of nirodha, an uprooting of the mental impressions. There's a nirodha of pure, consciousness, a chitanvaya, and then there's nirodha parinama, the transformation of one to the other. Right there, later on in the 3rd section. Now, this is my favorite sutra text. Yeah,
Sorry, I just wanted clarification from you. You said the 3rd was transformation of one to the other. One what to the other what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you mean from the 1st to the 2nd?
Yes, thank you. Right. From the conditioned state to the pure state. Good, thank you. When I get really excited about this, I get very sloppy in articulating these things. Okay. Now, I'm going to get more excited here, because this is incredible. Listen to this. When the conditioned turnings cease, okay, so we know what that is, right? The first use of chitta vritti. And a divine presence fills the whole heart, like light reflected in the facets of a jewel. And when the one who embraces the embracing itself and the one to be embraced all become united, then that state of union is that in which the meditator is anointed by divine grace. This is the close coming together, samapatti, of meditator with the divine beloved. Okay, let's go through this. This is worth going through. Okay, when the conditioned turnings cease. Okay, we've already talked about that in the 2nd aphorism. Okay. And a divine presence fills the whole heart, like the light reflected in the facets of a jewel. So, what do you do if you're going to buy a diamond for, say, $5,000, and you're looking at a case full of loose diamonds? You're not an expert, you don't know, but you have to choose one of those. Well, how are you going to choose it?
Instinct.
What's that? Well, okay. What do you do with what do you do with the diamonds? How are you going to choose one? Show me. What do you do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you doing there, Daya? You're turning it.
Yeah.
Why are you turning it?
See the way the light reflects.
Hits the facets.
Yeah.
Right. Turns. Vritti. Yes. Our souls are like jewels that turn and catch the light of the divine. That's the metaphor here. Do you think Patanjali needed to use metaphor? I mean, was he an impoverished Sanskritist? I don't think so. I think he was a brilliant Sanskritist and brilliant philosopher. So it's you turn it, and which one ever catches the light the most and is most brilliant, hey, then you slap a few bills down on that one, right? Okay, now, okay. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I had to take this from a jewelry store because I was doing it for my research. I explained that to the police and eventually returned it. Okay. Okay, continuing. When the one who embraces, the embracing itself, and the one to be embraced become united. These terms, by the way, in Sanskrit, and you can hear it, grahitra means grasp or embrace. To grasp the jewel, we're trying to grasp the jewel of the divine here. So grahitra, grahana, the embracing, and grahya, that which is to be embraced, all but say anugraha. Can you hear all the grahs, right? Grahitra, grahana, grahya, and then the main word in Sanskrit that means grace is anugraha, that which follows the embracing. Beautiful. But Patanjali doesn't want to be so like, okay, and then you get anugraha. No, Patanjali is more eloquent than that, okay? He says, then that state of union is that in which the meditator is anointed by divine grace. Anjanata. Anjana means literally ointment. So what are we doing with ointment? He was an Ayurvedic physician, I understand. So, he may have used plenty of ointment. But the point is that it's the abstract suffix, ta, anjanata, it's a state of being anointed by the object of meditation. So this is Patanjali's expression of grace. This is the close coming together of, or known as samapati, of meditator with the divine beloved. So this is Patanjali. Patanjali's a bhakta, there's no question about it. Anyway, I go through this here, and let's see. Hridaye chitta samvit. From deep within the flow of the heart, it is one's whole heart that is fully realized. Now, this is me 10 years ago. Darn. Honey, no one ever believes me when I say that. I really thought this would be gullible. Anyway, never mind. Okay, we'll talk about it later. We have the 7 chakras. I'm going to go through this quickly because I want to leave a little time for discussion. There are 3 major categories of yoga. One is the yogas of power, the outer limbs, tantra. And the energy goes out. In fact, usually, you see yogis meditating like this, right? It's the energy going like this, just like the body, the action of the body, just like this. What I'm doing here, of course, you don't believe it's me, that's fine. But the arms are cupping the hands together, creating a kind of nice mandala around the very core of one's being. The yogas of transcendence, the moksha, are bringing the energy up, and their goal is to bring it out and to just transcend this world, transcend this body. But for the bhakta, there's more than just the powers of the body, more than just transcending the body. Okay, I don't have time to go into that. That's fine. But the yogas of the heart, pranidhana, the innermost samadhi, the radiant affection of bhakti is what we focus on. So we can find it within and we radiate it out. It's the heart chakra. It's known as the anahata chakra, the unstruck. Why would the heart chakra be called the unstruck chakra? It's because the heart of the universe, the heart of existence is always beating, and it never stops, it never starts. And it's specifically embodied in the bija, the most famous bija mantra of the Om, the Pranava Omkar. Krishna says, Aham Pranava. So I am the Pranava Om. But notice that the Maha Mantra doesn't have the Om. And that's because it's gone to the very essence of all existence, the Maha Mantra. We'll get to that in a minute. One of the sutra texts is, when that divine being whom one loves and has longed for is realized in one's deepest meditation, dhyana, then one has achieved the fulfillment of divine grace. So for the bhakta, one contains the ras mandala in the heart. And the conclusion of my book has been that the Maha Mantra is but the sonic replication of the petals of the heart chakra. And is the sonic replication, the ras mandala itself is a sonic replication. The Maha Mantra is but the sonic replication of the ras mandala. And you can see the divine dancers in the 12 petals of the heart chakra. And there's the Maha Mantra. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know of anything that is more ultimate and more supreme than this. This is it. What is the whole heart? The whole heart, in the simplest terms, is the fully developed loving energy coming from the center of the total person. It is the very seat of the soul. That's where it exists. The Atman rests in the heart. It is a loving energy that flows to the self from within and from without. It is the loving energy that comes from the self to all living beings, to all reality. Prabhupada always said, love means not just love your kid, your friend. Love means loving all. And it is what carries the soul beyond the state of embodiment to the realm of the eternal, into the arms of the Supreme Beloved. It begins as the self, undeveloped in its limited state, conditioned by the world. At the same time, it also includes the true self proper. It potentially can develop and expand into the intimate presence of the divine reality that embraces the self from within and from the very core of the true self. And it is the space within the energy flow of the heart. Hridayakasha is found, that phrase is found many times in the Upanishads. Within the self, within which the self is embraced from without by the divine manifestations of absolute reality. Anyway, I'm going to just stop there. We've got 9.5 minutes before the arti begins. Okay? Atmaji, yeah.
Guru, so you were saying how Hare Krishna mantra is a sonic reflection of the 12 petals of the Rasa Leela.
The Ras Mandala.
The Ras Mandala,
Yeah.
which is what is in the heart chakra. Okay.
Right.
So for the devotee. So my question, I hope this is not like sort of ridiculously technical.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
I'll say that's ridiculously technical. I'm just next question. Yeah, kind of. But let's see what happens.
Okay, so the Hare Krishna mantra, of course, has 16 words, and so if there's 12 petals, it's not, one is not a multiple of the other. However, I was just wondering what your thoughts about that are, or if it's more like you could say the Hare Krishna mantra is itself 4 sets of 4, in which case the 12 petals could be a multiple of that.
Right.
In which case you could have.
Now, this is actually a good question, which is too hard to respond to completely here now because I've dealt with this sort of geometry of the Ras Mandala. And the numbers, and when you read the commentators, like Vishwanatha Chakravarti and I believe Jiva Goswami, the numbering of figures in the Ras Mandala is you can't grasp it. Sometimes 16 figures, sometimes 12, and of course ultimately a circle, I mean if you want to wax Euclidean here, every point in a circle, between every 2 points in a circle, you can have another point, and it can go on indefinitely, infinity. So the circle itself is infinity, is a symbol of infinity and eternality, and even the depth of the circle is infinity as well. So that's kind of where the commentators were going. So that's the way I'm going to respond to your ridiculous question. It was a really good, ridiculous question. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Shripala.
Yeah, so many questions, but I'll just ask a couple. So one, Prabhupada's quote, one of the quotes that you presented earlier, such wonderful quotes, one of them mentioned the cowherd boys in the rasa dance.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you have some thoughts on that, if that's just Prabhupada speaking, or if he, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was listing what we can go, what we can find when we go to the spiritual world. I don't think he was relating the cowherd boys directly to the rasa
His
dance.
positions, or...
But then again, it's all interrelated. I mean, Krishna plays with his boyfriends in the afternoon. He's with his mom and dad in the morning, and he's with the cowherd maidens in the evening. I mean, it sounds like a pretty intense schedule, but I think he always makes that schedule pretty regularly. But I mean, I think that what's being expressed here is that the rasas are more interrelated than we might think.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, where you're going with this, and they are. Exactly how they are, then you read more into the Goswami literature and you get into that kind of stuff. But again, it's something for the bhakta to completely embrace and enjoy, Oh yeah, you've got a second one, right?
I have, yeah, if I can.
Yeah, okay.
So about your translation of the Yoga Sutras, Sanskrit is such a rich language.
It is.
And many perspectives could be drawn out. And so, one question to you, how much are you imposing your bhakti orientation on the text? You're seeing Mahamuni Patanjali as a great bhakta.
Yeah.
Would the classical commentators agree with you? One. And then the other is Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 2nd chapter, does have a bhakti yoga.
Yes.
And then Kapila in the 3rd canto.
3rd canto, right, exactly.
So I'm just wondering if you're doing a comparative analysis and justification for your approach by linking it with the Kapila in the 3rd canto.
Okay, so the first condition response is, look, I have my doctorate, I'm the authority, you just listen to me. So that's real mundane response, okay? And you've got yours, a doctorate also in your field, so that never flies anywhere, okay? So you have to convince people. And now, Vijnana Bhikshu is the most theistic of the commentators, the famous commentators. Vachaspati Misra was an Advaitin, and Vyasa, his commentary, if it's the same Vyasa, I'm not sure that it is. If it is the same Vyasa, remember, he messed up everything until he wrote Bhagavatam. So I'm not going to look at anything else he does. And the point is that, hermeneutically, in terms of Western, and I was trained by Western philosophical hermeneutics and textual interpretation all those years, not just at Harvard, but Chicago as well. And okay, let me give you an example. The Bhagavad Gita. Everyone translates and comments on the Bhagavad Gita. There must be 89. It's the most commented on text. Well, Shankaracharya comments on it. I've read his commentary in Sanskrit. That was during my class on the Gita with that Daniel Ingalls who made that amazing statement about the 10th book. The first chapter of the Gita, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Shankara writes not one word of commentary. You see how incomplete his commentary is? That commentary that is most complete and that is most able to accomplish what we call the hermeneutical circle. That is to say, to see how the whole relates to each of the parts, not getting rid of any of the parts, and how each of the parts relate to the whole. The more one does that, the more solid the interpretation. And I'm there, Sri Prahlad. I am there. And when the book comes out, you read it and you get back to me and say, Garuda, I don't think you're quite there. I found a spot or two. I fully expect that to come from you, Sri Prahlad. That's good. Yeah. Go here and there. Yeah. Your name again was?
Jayant.
Giant. Right, good.
What does it mean for Krishna to take refuge in Yoga Maya?
Oh, yeah. You'd have to ask him, really. Yeah. I mean, it means that he, like the Bhakta, completely forgets Krishna's, majesty and power as the Gopikas do when they're in his presence. Krishna also wants to forget about himself too. He wants to just release himself fully into the ways of love, the ways of divine love. Now of course he's very competent, Krishna. He can sustain all the universes and do all the work, at once. I mean, I see how hard Purusha Sukta is working, and how Divya are working at this beautiful restaurant and all the things they want to expand to. But there's no way they can be here and at home at the same time. But Krishna can do that. And Krishna's home is a whole lot bigger than Divya's and Purusha Sukta's, and his work is a whole lot bigger than expanding Divya's and the restaurant in so many ways. So, he takes care of all of existence and yet wants to enter into an existence where he forgets about taking care of all of existence and yet accomplishes that at the same time. The commentator for the Bhagavad Gita that was very good, is Richard Charles Zahner of Oxford. Yeah, his translation's not bad. He's following the Sri Vaishnavatika, But he claims that the 11th chapter is the ultimate message, the climactic scene of the whole Gita. But it's anticlimactic. It's totally, Krishna, it says to Arjuna, yes, the form you're now seeing, my personal form, is the highest form and most difficult to appreciate. And it was Arjuna who said, can you chill? I really appreciate all this, overwhelming Aishwarya, stuff. But would you just come back to the way you were, really? I much prefer that. So it's anticlimactic. And besides, who puts the climactic scene in a movie or drama or a book in the middle? No one does that. No one does that. And that's because Krishna doesn't do that. And it's at the end. It's in the 18th chapter. In the Charama Shloka, in the 2 verses prior, 1864 to 1866. So this is, oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't realize the time was flying by. Well, you're the boss. I mean, you're the boss. No.
He's behind the curtain.
They're the boss. Yeah, exactly. Well, I
just
think.
have one little question. What is, I mean, after this, or maybe, because this is, I think it's very important for the new generation to know that what is the state of perfect union
Perfect.
actually, the perfect mental union, because in this, I mean, like, day and age, we, like, youngsters have so much stress and all, and still, we, like, try to connect through bhakti, but still, you know, I don't think so that we can achieve pure love until our own mental state is not in mentally, vibrationally aligned with love. So how do
Okay.
I get the perfect sense of?
Well, I think you almost answered your own question. I'll just quickly say, and then I'm going to respect the Pujari.
Yeah.
Say about here, the end of the Vedanta Sutra, 550 aphorisms, says anavriti shabdat, anavriti shabdat. If we surround ourselves, there's no more coming back to this conditioned world, the samsara, the cycle of birth and death, due to the power of sound. If you surround yourself with divine sounds all day long, not listening to the news, not listening to, looking at mundane things, but surrounding yourself with inspiring, beautiful things that come from the spiritual world, your heart will naturally flow. The opposite is also true. The more junk you put in there, the more junk is gonna, whatever junk comes in, junk will come out. Anyway, that's a simple, yeah, I've got to stop, I'm sorry, but anyway.
So we'll have Arti now, Kirtan, and we can just take some of the cushions and chairs and move them off to the side.
Sorry, no. Went too fast. So fast.
Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishna, Guru Gavane, Srimate, Bhakti Vedanta, Amrita
Asto Tara Shri Shivaramaya Saranara Vinyamananda Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raguna Sargoswami Prabhupada ki Prem Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki Nandadevi ki Yamuna Devi ki Tulsi Maharani ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Manapanavali Dham ki Rajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi All glory to the Assembled Devotees All glory to the Assembled Devotees All glory to the Assembled Devotees All glory to Shri Shri Guru Garuda All glory to Shri Prabhupada Namaste, Narasingaya. Namaste, Narasingaya. La 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 la
Krishna
who had to leave early, right at 12:30. Thank you so much for your beautiful kirtan. Thank you for all the guests who are coming. We're here every week, and we'd love to see you every week as much as you're able to come. Heads up, May 4th is the Shringa Chaturdashi. Divine appearance day, Shri Narashinga Day. Shri Narashinga Bhagavan Ki Jai! And it's going to be on a Thursday, so we're going to combine that event with our Thursday kirtan. So we'll have some special kirtan, there'll be a special darshan, there'll be an opportunity to make an offering. You may or may not know, but our Shalagram Shiva on the altar here is in the Shringadev Shiva, so we do have appearance in the Shringadev here at the Bhakti Center. That's on May 4th. As you can hear and are aware, we have prasad in the back, so please do stay for prasad, make a friend, connect with a friend. Thank you so much for being here, making this your spiritual home. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Yes, I know.
Also,
for the other years of like seeing this, then they have a super Senate, which I think is very, I'm just like getting like New York City geography and really understand it. Okay.
I know it gets different. Like
You're at one.
So like go areas to try hard and I mean in the places in the West
I'm going to tell them I saw you. Well, when you take the train out, it's not bad out with the train. Like if you take it from Grand Central to Beacon, it's like hour and 15, and get you from there. Yeah. Or if we're driving in there, like Harry, my brother, came. He has like a farmer's market in the city, so like sometimes.
Okay, so yeah,
So we're yeah.
So what did you say you were saying?
So there's a it's East 24. I was gonna walk by it today. I don't know where it is, but it's like outside honestly. So it's like I think and it's on First Avenue, so I think it's just like 20 bucks.
I know how it's like, that's like so good. Like Montefiore does it as well. But my like Jacobino Central Brooklyn don't, right? They just kind of send us the email from the rental. They just kind of like, this is the building, we get special deal for it. But I didn't want to leave them. And also like I thought I have 1 free day of 7, right? So I was kind of designated on that day. So like I just didn't want to be like my last day. So like this is like a half day.
Perfect. Yeah, it's good to have a little separation from where you're working. Like,
I also
leave
need
it
like
behind.
100%. So I have
Yeah.
around the
Pretty much, any evening there's something going on. Like if for association there's there's theater, there's always every evening like a video or
It's just so nice with like residency schedules. It's like at least one evening of free, like days, nights. So.
On the 4th of the night shift, it's like my last night shift, so I won't be able to come. But I was able to come every single lesson because it's like 6 I finished at 5, super the same, and I can feel the drive and come to it, so it's perfect. Everything is always a bit there. Yeah, let's go.
But we're still waiting for the finish of the last week. I'll ask you in the evening. I haven't spoken to her. I just yeah. She has a.
Okay. Achana usko pasta mत उसमें. She ate like anything.
They'll come for pasta for sure.
I know she come.
Oh, they really like it pasta.
I haven't talked to her, but
Yeah,
Usually
JJ Dada.
she also
Big
does
JJ Dada.
pasta, what she
Do
likes,
JJ.
she likes
Very good.
pizza.
See, today I'm Dia.
pasta the best for me.
Dia and Dia.
She
Very
has
good.
a.
You want this?
Just the gravy.
Yeah, let's see.
Do you want to take it?
I take that. Yeah. Juliana करे जेरिका पुनेगा Juliana come here take this flower and put it away from here how very was Julie
See? You cry for Krishna. That's very good. Just love him and when you're awake, Radhamala Garlic. When you're sleeping, Radhamala Garlic. Oh, thank you.
Let's
Can
go.
I smell?
Let's go.
Yeah, you're sleeping. You're sleeping. Huh? You're sleeping, huh? That's right, Monica. They're staying awake a long time. That's right. It's Krishna's nap time too. You want to take a nap with Radhamala? I mean, as they're serving, you can't really nap with them, you know, because we want to let them nap by themselves. But we can take a nap with Radhamala. Where is
Oh, you're being recorded.
Uh-oh.
It's live. Did you feed her?
What?
Did you feed her?
A little bit. She's just tired. Sweet dreams of